Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Belmar Public Library. My name is Louis Polito, and I want to welcome you all to tonight's presentation, to everyone here and to everyone watching online on the live stream here on Facebook. This event will be videotaped and will be available for viewing after this event for 2 weeks on our YouTube channel via our website. So look for that as well. I want to introduce you to Natalie Hiott-Levine and her son Zachary Levine. And tonight they have a presentation, Differently Abled, Musically Inspired, A Teen's Journey to Inclusion and Resilience. As you will soon find out, Zach is a 20-year-old who was born with a rare genetic disorder, and they're here to share their story of perseverance, coping, and resilience. Tonight they will take you on Zach's musical journey, and Zach's mom, Natalie, will also tell the story of what it is to be a parent raising a special needs kid and all the challenges and successes they've had as well. So we do have copies of the flyer. If you want to take a souvenir copy of the flyer, we have them over here. Also note we do have flyers for other upcoming events, including the new author time that we just scheduled as well. So with that, let me get started and leave it to Zachary Levine. Zach, take it away.
Thank you, Louis. Thank you, Louis. Hello, my name is Zach Levine. I'm here today to tell you about my journey to becoming a young adult. I'm 20 years old and graduated from Melbourne High School, class of 2020. Presently, I'm in the transition program at Melbourne High School, where I attend life skill classes, music classes, and participate in job training. I live with my parents and my 2 younger brothers, Max and Ben. I have a rare medical condition known as brittle bones. Brittle bones is an illness that causes weak bones to break easily. One time, I sneezed and broke my vertebrae. Another time, I tripped and broke my hip, arm, and leg all in one fall. When I got multiple fractures like this, I need surgery and have spent a lot of time in the hospital and missed a lot of school. To try to avoid tripping, I used a walker to help me get around and keep me protected. And by the way, this is my walker, Jupiter, for those of you that are curious.
He named him Jupiter. He names all his walkers like people name their cars.
Yeah, long story. Besides the challenge of living with brittle bones, I also face other obstacles, such as being visually impaired, meaning I'm blind in one eye and have some vision in my other eye. This makes reading, counting money, watching TV, and seeing small objects a challenge. To help me overcome this, I use assistive technology, including a 7-inch touchscreen laptop that works like an iPad, my iPhone, which I can take a picture of something that is hard for me to see and enlarge it, and Alexa, which I use Alexa at home to set my alarm clock to wake up to my favorite music, and to let me know what the weather is like so I know how to dress. Some of you may use Siri or Alexa too. Before the pandemic, I also used a device that's called a VisioBook that was provided to me by the New Jersey Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired. The commission helped me and the school district understand how to accommodate my low vision both in the classroom and in the public community. A VisioBook is a portable projector that has a lens that can be rotated and enlarged reading materials and worksheets. As shown on this slide right here, the documents or books are enlarged on the screen, and I can zoom in or out, very much like the book enlarger here at the library, which is right here.
Yep, it moves from the other
Oh,
side.
we moved, yeah.
It's back there.
That's it right there.
I can also turn, but with the VisioBook, I can also turn and point the lens forward, so I can see things like the whiteboard or smartboard in the classroom or the TV at home. Right now, I don't really need the VisioBook at school or at home. Almost all my class materials are online now. At home, I use my iPad or iPhone to watch TV shows or movies. These new technologies are great because the video book is very large and heavy. Before the pandemic, my paraprofessional, which is a professional classroom aide who helps me, either Miss Rosie or Mr. Bob, had to lug the video book and my large laptop around from class to class. The video book was okay for reading short articles or doing worksheets, but it was difficult to use for materials with really small print, since I had to zoom in and out a lot, and to keep moving the document back and forth to read on the screen. It's much easier for me if the documents can be enlarged or printed in a 24-point font if they're not online. Well, when I'm reading online, I just zoom in at home. I use a very large computer monitor or this large screen laptop, which is how I'm presenting to you guys today. My presentation notes are enlarged on my laptop, so they're easier for me to read and see. Although I'm working on my typing skills with my occupational therapist at school and getting much better at it, I am also learning to use something called speech-to-text apps and software with my speech therapists. Speech-to-text is helpful for making short lists or writing longer documents like my song lyrics. I'm still getting comfortable with speech-to-text since the computer doesn't always understand me, and it's harder for me to edit things. At home, my parents have helped me to stay positive after they saw the musical Dear Evan Hansen. They brought me a pillow that said, and I quote, "Today is going to be a good day and here's why," which helps me to look at life more positively. My mom has also showed me how to cook for myself. I like to make grilled cheese sandwiches using the toaster oven, and I can also warm up mac and cheese in the microwave so I don't burn myself. Yeah, that happened one time. My dad takes me for walks, showed me how to shower and shave. We both like Hanna-Barbera cartoons like the Jetsons, Scooby-Doo, and the Banana Splits. And also, my dad was one of the few dads that were in my den leaders in Cub Scouts. My middle brother, Max, is on the unified basketball team with me and helps me order food when mom and dad are gone. And my youngest brother, Ben, helps me get ready for my drumming lessons by making sure I go downstairs to where my drum set is and check the Zoom connection with Tim, who's my drumming instructor. Lastly, in addition to my brittle bones and vision impairment, I've had problems connecting with peers, causing what we call stuck thoughts and depression, but I'll talk a little more about that later. Excuse me. Regardless of my challenges, I do have goals and dreams and want to do well. I want to be as independent as I can and be able to walk without a walker. I would like to have a family and become a motivational speaker and create a YouTube channel as well as a foundation that will inspire and help people with disabilities. Before I continue, my mom would like to say a few things. Go ahead.
I'm actually going to say this part from here because I'm kind of short. This part of my presentation is kind of short, rather. I'm Zach's mom, Natalie Hiott-Levine. Thank you again for inviting us to speak to you today. I bought this sign on the screen for Zachary recently. I saw it in a shop and I thought it was apropos for the both of us. And it was even more appropriate for Zach since he's a musician because it's a quote from Bob Marley. And it's, "You never know how strong you are until being strong is the only choice you have." Over the years, I've learned just how strong I am. But Zach is certainly the strongest person that I know. But rather than tell you about how resilient he is and his resilient nature, we're going to show you. As they say, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So here's a slideshow of Zach throughout the years. And we believe it demonstrates his perseverance, his coping skills, his positivity, and his resilience. We hope you can gain some insight into his dreams, personality, and musical talent watching this. The slideshow itself is set to an abridged version of an original musical composition that Zachary did called Jaden's Ritual.
I composed it,
Yes.
just so you know.
Yes, using GarageBand loops. Zach will introduce the concept and the meaning behind the music later in his presentation. But for now, enjoy the show.
Jaden's Ritual.
Nope.
What
Go back.
happened?
Well, no.
Go back. Here we go.
Ooh. Sorry.
There we go.
Alright. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you'll be hearing that song again later. Anyway, now it's time for me to talk about how I've gotten to where I am today. And the subjects that I plan to cover in today's presentation are, stuck thoughts and perseverance, coping and self-forgiveness, music and inclusion, and of course, my future. So, here we go with part one. When I was in middle school, I had feelings or thoughts I was being bullied. The person that bullied me was the leader of a group. She said things about my body and physical appearance. I went to speak to her at a school dance. She was being very unkind, and it felt like I was because I was different. And different to her meant that I was quote unquote less than her. It was something that really bothered me for a long time, and it still does today actually. The way she treated me made me feel like I would never make friends. When my peers started dating and forming more relationships, I started to feel even more excluded. After feeling bullied, I started to believe and get stuck on thoughts and feelings about the mean things that the girl said. It kind of felt useless to try to talk to a girl or form a new friendship. The negative thoughts I had caused me to have trouble socializing. I realized I didn't see things socially that my typical peers saw. Since I was born differently, I was differently abled. I guess I saw things a lot differently back then too. For instance, I couldn't read social cues like body language or tone of voice to figure out how to make a good first impression with my peers. Back then, I didn't even realize social cues mattered at the time. I had trouble forming friendships with girls because I was so focused on my own feelings that I would end up saying something unexpected. While my male peers were growing up and learning how to act on their feelings, while my male peers were growing up and starting to act on their feelings in a more expected way, which sometimes meant not acting on feelings or blurting out exactly what they were thinking, like I did. I was kind of left behind and thought my feelings weren't normal. Of course, now I realize that some feelings or thoughts should be in my thought bubble and not be said out loud under certain circumstances. But that didn't click with me until I got older, and I still have trouble with it today. During middle school, I became really depressed and started taking medication to help. Even though I was taking meds at the time and going through therapy, my depression became even worsened after several major fractures and long hospital stays that lasted months. After losing my vision and one eye completely in the 8th grade, I felt like I wanted to end my life. I had to find the strength inside of myself to persevere and go on. Part 2. One of the ways I've been able to let go of some of these negative stuck thoughts and social mistakes is through therapy and my creativity. I've been going to therapy since I was a youngster. First off, started as a social group, and then as I got older, more individual therapy so I can talk about my thoughts and feelings. Currently, I see psychologists as well as therapists both in school and privately. My private speech therapist, Carolyn Maso, helped me to understand and plan for social situations. My school speech therapist, Ms. Threadlaw, helped me with speech to text and social skills both in the class and public community. Using my creativity has also helped me to process and move on from a stuck thought. I enjoy writing stories and creating characters that become my what we call inner coaches to help me recognize the social mistakes I've made and how to avoid them. Carolyn has also taught me about inner coaches and how they can be used. For instance, when I went to my junior prom, Carolyn, as well as my school psychologist, Mrs. Nowak, helped me to prepare for social situations that may arise at prom. Mr. Howard, who is...
Sorry, my fault. There we go.
This guy, if you look, that's him on the right there, if you see him. And that's me on the left. Went with me to prom for my safety. Mr. Shirley and I both carried a photo reminder of how I should behave in different situations with girls during that time. Asking them to dance, what they do if they said yes, what they do if they said no, etc. So, since I really am a big fan of the TV series Criminal Minds, I was unsure of what to do. I would picture with my inner coach, Derek Morgan, a strong, handsome, smooth, kind FBI character on Criminal Minds, who is this gentleman right there, would do in the same situation. I have several inner coaches based on characters from my favorite TV shows and films to choose from, it mostly depends on the situation. Which, by the way, junior prom was very successful, which I slow danced with not one, but two girls, which was the most complicated thing I ever did. Don't ask. Sorry. I'm in the process of writing a YouTube series called Social Kid Next Door. Some of these episodes I'm writing are based on true events that have occurred in my life. The main character, Billy Henderson, who has social struggles of his own, is based on myself. In these episodes I've written so far, I try to change the circumstances around so Billy will stop and think about how to react in a more expected way than I did in real life. Sorry.
That's okay.
For instance, in one episode, I wrote a scenario based on the time I called a girlfriend over and over until her dad answered. When he did, I was rude to him because I wasn't expecting to talk to him, I was expecting to talk to his daughter. He told me not to call again. However, in the Social Kids episode, I rewrote the ending so Billy tries to make amends with the characters I made based on the girl and her dad, which is not on here for some reason.
Sorry, I have Social Kids Next Door. You don't have your picture. We have the picture later.
Carolyn has also taught me about creating positive distractions to help me move on from a stuck thought. Some of these positive distractions include calling a friend, watching YouTube videos, drawing a picture of my characters, listening to music, and my most favorite of all actually, writing songs about things I've gone through because I am a songwriter. How has music helped me? For one, music has always helped me to cope with things. Whenever I would need to go to the hospital for a procedure or stay in the hospital after a surgery, I would ask for a music therapist to work with me. Listening to them play music would distract me from the anxiety and pain I was feeling at the time. One time I asked Elena, the music therapist at Rusk at the time, to help me organize a talent show for the Kids Word, which I played an electric drum set, and she played a keyboard, and I got the other kids to sing along to the song Rather Be by Clean Bandit, one of my favorite songs, by the way. I wound up being named Artworth Artist of the Month of April of 2016, and not only that, but having a video of my performance posted online.
That's when I joined Facebook, because that was the only way I could see it.
Yeah, long story there.
But I won't say for now.
But that's alright. Anyway, Elena also helped me to write songs, including one I wrote for my baby brother, Ben, as a gift for his birthday, which that photo, which is right there, was taken on his real actual birthday after I sang him the song and presented him with the lyrics, which he was just flattered that his big brother wrote a song. Ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to be able to write my own music. I have many musicians and bands I enjoy listening to, including Vanessa Carlton, Christina Perry, Miles Davis, and most recently Britton Lane, who is the girl right there. Britton Lane is also a YouTube person and also a songwriter, and I have quite a range of musical favorites. Yeah, and as you can see, there's a lot of my favorite stuff on there. There's John Mayer, Billy Joel, Elton, Vanessa, Jimi Hendrix. Yeah, it's a lot of people. Over the years, I wrote songs about relationships and love. Love songs speak to me in a way that helps me to understand relationships a little better. Many of the songs I've written are about stuck thoughts on girls I have crushes on. This is something that's incredibly common with me. As I grew up, I listened to lyrics of songs and thought about how those lyrics, or either the lyrics of the person writing the song, would connect to me. Getting my music out makes me feel that I'm connecting with other people who may have similar feelings. It's in a way almost like I'm speaking to people through a song, i.e. having a conversation with the exact person I'm singing the song about. My songs have helped me work through difficult situations, including loss of a loved one, dating, bullying, and many others. By writing about these subjects, I've been able to understand them better. Now, as I mentioned a while ago in my presentation, I like to draw pictures of my imaginary characters. On this slide right here is a picture I drew of my imaginary future family and speech therapist Carolyn, who is right, I think, yeah, it was right there, yeah, right top right, I think. And in my music and tech class last year, I learned that music doesn't always need lyrics to tell a story, but can tell a story all on its own. The music playing during the slideshow at the beginning of this presentation is an unabridged version of a jazz composition I created in class, which is called Jaden's Ritual. An even shorter version of Jaden's Ritual accompanies, I said that wrong, in this very short slideshow you guys are about to watch. Now, as you watch this slideshow, please pay attention to both the music as well as my recorded description of how the instruments I chose told the story of both him and my future family in general. So, what?
The imaginary future.
Right, my bad. Ladies, so here it is. Ladies and gents, Jaden's Ritual. Sorry about that, folks. Here it is. My name is Zachary, and throughout my life I have turned to music and my imagination as outlets of comfort in times of loneliness and sadness. This is a piece of music I created to help tell the story of my future family called Jaden's Ritual. This musical creation tells the story of my youngest son, Jaden, and his journey from Moray, Africa, to the U.S. to be adopted by me and my wife, Nadja, and our other children. The first half represents Jaden at 9 years old, leaving the orphanage and meeting his new family. The face represents Jaden, and the other instruments his siblings. Each instrument is different because each child came from another country. I chose these instruments because they're uplifting to me. In the second section, I decided to use percussion instruments for each family member because I'm a percussionist. The story ends with a complete and happy family. I hope to continue to share my experiences of my life through the power of music. My name is...
We're moving on.
I'm terribly sorry with that, folks. I hope you enjoyed that little thing. And by the way, let's hear it for my son. Yeah, my son. Alright. And also, as a bonus, this school year in Music Tech, I was working on a brand new song, a little similar to Jaden's Ritual, that's called Talia. It's about a girl who I became friends with in gym class during the first week of school. Of all times, right? I use GarageBand loops to tell the story of our little friendship. I'm finally feeling more included. Over the years, the group and people that made me feel less alone are the ones that got to know me and just accepted me for liking me and being me. They didn't make me feel different and always found a way to include me, even if that meant being differently abled prevented me from participating the same way as everyone else. Most, but not all of these groups involve music. And I'm going to show them to you. New Horizons Day Camp. These guys have been like family to us. They visited me at the hospital, and when I came home, even when I wasn't a camper. They encouraged me and my musical talents and motivational speaking. In fact, when I was younger, I did a whole anti-bullying speech for a camp radio station. which we still keep in touch. Mike, who is in this picture,
On the bottom.
like on the
Bottom.
yeah, like bottom.
Daddy.
Yeah, came to the parade to celebrate my graduation last year in 2020. Which,
The car parades for COVID.
yeah, I mean, it was a COVID thing that we did, but
Yep.
it was like the coolest thing we ever did. So, I've been taking private drumming lessons at So I Heard since I was 13. Everybody at So I Heard is great. When I was really depressed, sometimes my instructors, Gabe and Tim, let me talk while we jammed, or just let me talk and just didn't judge me. I learned a lot about great drummers, as well as great genres of music from Gabe. He taught me how to listen closely to songs and to identify all the different percussion instruments, as well as other instruments that might be involved. Although I'm no longer participating in Milburn High School band because it doesn't really fit with my schedule this year or anymore, I'm part of Milburn High School. I've been part of Milburn High School band since the sophomore year, and was doing it with Miss Rosie, who was both a power professional and also a musician, and the band director, Miss Sharman. Band not only has helped me develop my drumming skills, but more importantly though, I got to attend the Milburn High School football games with the band and had a normal high school experience, which I think, yeah, so that's Miss Rosie right there. Been with me since I was a kid, since 3 years old. That's how old we are.
Yeah.
And over there is me and Miss Rosie and everybody that was in the band at that point. And that's just that bottom one is me, like at the the first football game.
That was
yeah.
This was, Zach had been in the hospital for 2 months, from September to, he got out the 2 days before Thanksgiving.
Of all
And
times, right?
he played in the Thanksgiving Day game.
Yeah.
And what got him through the therapy, was he used music therapy for OT and PT at the hospital to build up his stamina and drumming, and that's what kind of kept him going. And I said, you know, come on, you want to get out of here, you want to play in that Thanksgiving Day game. And he did, and he was in a wheelchair, he couldn't walk, so we wheeled him onto the field. We had a spot.
Well, it's not they couldn't walk, they just.
Well, no, at that point you weren't walking because you had a cast, you couldn't.
Not at that time. I had something on my leg at that point.
But anyway, it was really really awesome, and they allowed him to do. We
really great experience.
The conductor would call a song, I would convey it down, he would pick it right up.
Literally just like start doing that.
Okay.
So.
Ready?
Unified Interact Club. This is a favorite. Interact Club is a Milburn High School club that I first got involved with 2 years ago. The group is run by Miss Nowak, Mr. Askins, as well as a former student who was the founder of the club. The group focuses on singing, dance, improv, and my most favorite subject, social skills. I feel more included in this group because it helped me work on my social detective skills and musical talent at the same time. Self-Advocacy Group, which is also run by Mr. Askins, has given me the opportunity to learn how to advocate for myself in school and in general. It has also given me the opportunity to do motivational speaking about being differently abled for 5th grade kids in our school district. Also presented this at these end of the year presentations that they call Each One Teach One conference, which is something we did like at the end of the year when things are all winding down and
with other schools.
Yeah. My brother, one of my younger brothers, Max, and I participate in an inclusion sport that's known as unified basketball. A lot of my typical classmates, Max's best friend, Robert, and other people who are like me are definitely able to play together on this team. We play against other high school unified teams. During the game, at the end of each quarter, I go out and shoot baskets, but the other team stood back because of my brittle bones. I got to be part of the team and so was one of my typical friends and make new friends as time went on. When I go on the team, the teammates support me and cheer for me every time I go out there. And here's a little quote from that. I'm really part of the team, and when I score, it counts. It's a joke. See what I mean?
Awesome! All right.
Alright. Lastly, I'm looking forward to being part of a new chapter of a new social group I just got involved with last year. That's called Best Buddies, which we meet at lunchtime at Milburn High School on certain times. I have 2 new friends, which I hope to hang out with outside of school in the near future. And I do it alongside with my brother Max. Yes, Max is also a member of this group, which he has another friend too. This past summer, I attended Camp Hope, which is run by the Arc of Essex County. Not sure if you guys know that organization.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it to the point where I made some new friends, and I look forward to more activities with Arc in the future. Meaning I'm still looking into doing activities with them in the future. While I've made new friends and feel very connected, I'm still looking for a meaningful romantic relationship in my future. That's the one thing I'm still trying to look for, keep in mind. Before I turn this over to my mom, I want to tell you the goals, hopes, and dreams for my future. And here's another quote of mine, which I think is a new favorite of mine. My future is so bright, I gotta wear shades.
I like that.
But in all seriousness, guys, firstly, I want to be as independent as possible. I'm at an age where parents start to want their kids to do things on their own. However, my case has been a little bit different due to my brittle bones and vision issues. I worry about this ruining my future. My mom and dad have always been on top of me about being independent and doing things for myself. No, it's not that I refuse, but I worry about emergency situations and how I defend myself without the risk of me getting hurt. I hope I can get through these situations. Another goal of mine is I want to motivate others with special needs. All the social groups and inclusion sports that me and my brother and a lot of our friends have been involved with have inspired me to be a motivational speaker, start a YouTube channel, and start my own foundation that is both a socializing organization and at the same time like an advocacy group. I mean, yeah, it's a business, but my wife's work would be to promote social and conversation skills, disability rights, disability awareness, self-advocacy skills, and most importantly, social problem solving, which I think you know what that is. I want other kids to know that they always have someone to go to that they can feel safe with and can trust, like a parent, guidance counselor, teacher, best friend, or older brother or sister. I want them to know that no matter what they say, nor how they say it, like me, they can have somebody they can turn to in their life who will be there to help and support them. I also wanted to inspire others through my music. I really think that music speaks to everybody differently, no matter who they are, or whatever difficulties or challenges or illnesses they may have. I'm hoping that my music can, in a way, explain to other people my experiences and my story, and they can, in a way, use that as a resource to benefit in their own lives. I hope that music can be a gift to others. Finally, like many people in this day and age, I want to have a family of my own someday. I always have pictured my future family, and I hope to create one day. I see it as the end of the light at the end of the tunnel I've been battling to get out of. And of course, that light is my future wife and kids at the end of that tunnel. Now then, I'm going to turn this over to my mom, and she's going to tell you her side of our little story. So, go right ahead.
Thank you. I'm trying not to. We did this so smoothly in rehearsal.
Welcome to my world.
So, people people often ask me if I knew when I was pregnant that there was a problem with the pregnancy. We did, we knew, but we loved Zach, and the doctors really couldn't identify what the syndrome would be, and so they could only tell us it wasn't a trisomy, and it wasn't one of the other syndromes that they could diagnose prenatally. I keep a magnet with this verse from Robert Frost on my refrigerator, and it just resounds with me. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. We decided to take the road less traveled, and that has charted the course for the rest of our lives, and it's made all the difference in the world. We wouldn't live where we live, we wouldn't have the friends that we have, we wouldn't have done the things that we've done or haven't done, or have done differently. We've grown and developed and are raising two other young men at this point. They're 14 and 16.
My brothers.
Yeah, raising two other children who also have a unique and hopefully more empathetic and compassionate and inclusive
point of view.
view of the world, because Zach is their brother.
Older brother.
You're
more
old,
likely.
that's right. You're their older brother. So who am I besides Zach's mom? In a former life, I was a lawyer. I worked for big law firms for about 10 years, and I worked for a not-for-profit as a consultant focusing on work-life balance for attorneys. I did that for about 8 years, and then became a full-time volunteer with PTO presidents and so on and so forth. I've always been involved in the community, in our community in Milburn, with an organization called Caring Kids, which I just did a puppet show this morning for third graders, where we have differently
She
able.
played a different character.
Yeah, I played the deaf puppet this morning.
Kids on the
Now,
block.
Oh, no.
That's the kids on
There
the
we go.
block.
Yeah.
Come back up. Yep,
That's
Kids
the
on the
Kids
Block.
on the Block.
Yep, the Kids on the Block puppet show.
Mhm.
We did that.
Oh, you did too? Okay.
Yeah, I did that.
It's so much fun. Give me 1 second here.
I'm a big fan of those puppet shows.
Yeah.
Swap back up on
actually.
my swap displays.
Third or fourth grade.
Please.
Oh, no.
Swap displays one more time.
Oh, God. Technical
There we go.
difficulties. Okay.
Awesome. All right.
All right, here we go.
So I'm also an advocate, community leader involved with Caring Kids, PTO, CPAC, which is the Special Education's Parents Advisory Council in my district. I'm a mom of 3 boys and my husband, my 4th boy. I am now Zach's business partner doing motivational
said
speaking.
earlier.
Yes, he told me I can handle all the logistics. Okay. And I'm a momager as well. Also my youngest son has a career he likes me to manage. He acts. So my middle one I've been chauffeuring around to sporting events. So he's an athlete. So I have 3 very different children. So this is also, you may get that I like these sayings, but I actually do have this in my house as well. I didn't take an actual picture of it, but what it says is, by Vivian Green, life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass, it's about learning to dance in the rain. And so tonight, I want to tell you our story of dancing in the rain, and the lessons that we've learned in the last 20 years. One thing was how Zach prepared us for a pandemic.
Well, that's COVID.
COVID-19. I kind of felt like I kept saying at the beginning of the pandemic, I feel like Zach has prepared us for this. Everybody, no one knew what to expect. Everyone was waiting for the other shoe to drop. How bad is it going to get? When is it going to get better? All those types of living with the unknown, those kinds of questions that we've lived with on a daily basis.
An
for the
age-old
last
question that we've all figured out the answers to.
Oh, excuse me. So, waiting for the other shoe to drop, never knowing what was going to happen. And what it is we all think we're in control, but it's an illusion because no one knows what's going to happen to them. But that illusion kind of holds us together, and that illusion was shaken by this pandemic, and we've all had to adjust to a new normal. And so I kind of was thinking about all the lessons that I'd learned through Zach's life that really helped prepare us for living during this pandemic. Maybe, not that it was easy, but maybe a little easier than other people had. I also keep a copy of the Serenity Prayer on my refrigerator. God grant me the serenity to accept things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So there are like many mantras that go on in my head about positive thinking. Another one is to keep calm and expect the unexpected. The kids also got me a candle that says, keep calm and call mom, which they do. I silenced my phone so they wouldn't call me here, they can call their dad. So that is, keeping calm, expect the unexpected, and that was one of the things. Canceling plans. How many people had to cancel plans, trips, vacations, holiday gatherings? Unfortunately, that canceling and rescheduling life is something that we've lived with and learned to dance in the rain or make lemonade, take the lemons and make lemonade. That's
The old
one of the
saying,
things.
the political
Yep.
saying says,
Mhm.
life gives you lemons, give
So-
lemonade, so.
We've spent many a holiday in the hospital, just vacations that we've had to cancel, reschedule, swap with people, it happens. One of the other things is the coping skills that we've developed in the last 20 years. And also carpe diem, seize the day. Today's a good day, right? Today's a
Indeed.
great day.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do with that day? What are you gonna, we booked last minute vacations. People are like, I didn't know you were going on vacation, neither did I. We decided last night we're going, we're leaving tomorrow. We've just can kind of take off and really just, if things are going well, we really try to embrace that and go with that, because you never know what the future holds. Also balancing, I thought this was kind of fun. Balancing, juggling, balancing, not really sure which one I'm doing. So, the kids stress, the husband trying to get some romance in there, trying to fit work in, all that kind of stuff. It eventually sorts itself out. And if I drop a couple of balls on the way, I pick them up and start over. The other thing is self-care and the importance of self-care. Taking time to reset, taking date nights, even when Zach was in the hospital, found it really important to, if we had a birthday or a celebration, you saw the picture of my son's birthday,
Occasion.
going out and trying to do that, reinventing the holidays, and just recognizing what's important about them. And that was one of the things with the holidays last year that was really difficult. And I remember saying to my mom, what's really important? Can we be together? We're going to be together. It doesn't matter if they're the gifts, if they're wrapped, if they're still coming in the mail, it doesn't matter. If we're all healthy and we're together, that's what matters. And so really focusing, laser focusing on what's important. And grieving as a form of self-care. While I can stand here and be very positive, I'm not going to say it was an easy road, or that we both don't often get hit by grief out of nowhere. Things that dreams that won't be realized, or things that you imagine differently. And so that's actually an important part, to let yourself feel those feelings as well. And anxiety and depression, and seeking help for them. As Zach mentioned, he struggled with anxiety and depression, understandably. I've suffered with it as well. And making sure that you seek the help, recognize it, seek help, and going on. So that's something else. So the early years of Zach, it was a very difficult pregnancy, as I said. We moved to New Jersey after 9/11 because with 5-month-old Zach,
Of all times we could have moved.
we were caught we lived in Battery Park City, and we're caught with the towers coming down, and it's my birthday, and I said I did not come through this pregnancy with this child to die on my birthday in a terrorist attack, so not gonna happen.
Thank God that didn't happen.
Did not happen.
Just lucky
But
to be a man.
Crazy, other than that, we moved to New Jersey. Max arrived in 2005.
Ben came a little later than that.
Yes. I left Big Law, switched to the not-for-profit. It was a happy childhood. You can see we took vacations, we had 3 little babies, we were,
Yeah, I kind of
things were
consider
good
my
despite-
childhood to be the happy days, actually.
Yes. Despite the hospitalizations that we started to have, and the surgeries that Zach had as an infant. He had several surgeries before the age of 3, and major surgeries. The stressful years, Zach was in about 5th grade. He was getting more and more frequent fractures and more kind of catastrophic kind of fractures started happening, and he went for infusion therapies at the hospital where we would go quarterly, and he would, we were doing that when he was younger, and then we went with a new drug in 2011, 2012, and he was just having these catastrophic fractures, and we tried to, it was bisphosphonate, to try to calcify his bones a little more. But then we bought a historic home, which we are finally renovating. So finally got started right before the pandemic started. We were getting started. My husband calls me Calamity Jane. Just this dark cloud just follows me around. And we finally got the diagnosis for Zachary in the summer of 2015, in between major fractures and losing his vision. And so the diagnosis came, and it was called spondylo-ocular syndrome. At the time that he was diagnosed, there were three other people, all of them in Australia, who had been diagnosed.
Which I read an article, but actually my father showed me this article about it, and I read it, and I was like crying my eyes out to see that, because it really, because now I knew what kind of disability I had, and it's why it scared me really bad, I would say.
But in a way, the diagnosis for us was anticlimactic, because there was no prognosis. They still don't know, what this looks like long term. So what it did for me, though, receiving the diagnosis, was provided me with a little sense of relief, because as a mother, even though they told me I had done nothing during my pregnancy that could have caused this, I still had that little nagging thought in the back of my head. And so when they told me it was a gene defect, a single gene defect, 2 microdeletions, and they were able to identify the gene, I went, okay, so that was actually, what's happened is he's missing an enzyme, and that causes this whole cascade effect.
Which probably caused this whole...
So he had cataracts and glaucoma in utero, and ultimately retinal detachments, which led to the blindness in his one eye after rare complications of scarring, which is the really dark years from 2015 to 2019. That was when the worst started. He had these catastrophic fractures that he referred to with his hip and his arm and his leg, and we were in and out, broken knee. He had broken his neck, fell out of bed, weird kind of just rolled out of bed one night and cracked a couple of vertebrae.
Well, I didn't really I was glad I didn't break my leg or arm at that time, but this kind of felt like a whole different injury.
That was a whole different issue.
I was I literally reached for the phone and I called for my dad.
Yeah.
He comes in, my mom comes in, our neighbor next door comes all the way to our house, and then this ambulance pulls up, and it's like,
crazy.
What is going on?
Yes.
I was literally so dizzy. I couldn't, it felt like my eyes were swirling, and it's like, what is going on?
Yes.
Why?
It was a crazy night. Unfortunately, we've had a few of those, but
I was so exhausted the next morning.
I know.
So.
I know, me too. How did we survive all this? I remember doing our medical expenses one year for insurance, not for insurance, for taxes, and saying, I can't believe what we went through in the last year. Like, it all came back to me as I was going through all the receipts. So how do you survive the unthinkable, like a pandemic or a child's catastrophic illness? The importance of networking professionally, but networking with people who support you is really important for your sanity and your mental health and your general well-being. So you have to build a support network for yourself, your family, your child. If you have people, I have found in my experience, that are working against your interests or making things more difficult for you instead of easier, let them go. It doesn't mean you have to stop being friends with them or anything, but you don't simplify and focus on what's important, and you don't need to complicate your life and expend that energy that way. You could just accept those people as they are and find someone who can really support you. and be productive with your emotional energy. So people inspire or they drain you, so pick them wisely. I fortunately found I have a great many friends who can inspire and support. The other thing with building a support network is, I keep, this cracked me up. I keep hearing it takes a village to raise a child. Do they just show up, or is
It's
there a
very
number
true.
to call? And there is a number to call. Pick up your phone and call your friends or send out a text. I
Yeah.
found that it does take a village to raise a child. When
I want to mention something.
wait, hold the thought. Thank you. My husband and I were taking shifts at the hospital when Zachary was there. I would go days, he would go nights. So I would come during the
Yeah,
day.
and sometimes Dad would sleep with me.
Yeah.
And,
He would sleep over and then go to work, shower at the hospital, go to work the next morning. And he was in the hospital in Manhattan. And then I would come back in the morning after I got the other two off to school, and we would take shifts and we had sitters. And the only thing besides Zachary and his health that I cared about at that time was my other two kids, and that I couldn't be there for them. And that leaning on parents and friends and neighborhood and the school community,
community in general, rather, too.
people are so willing to help if given a chance. They formed meal trains. People came, they made sure my kids got to and from activities. They made sure, they were having their social lives and things were still going on.
Well, I had to
They
deal with stress.
they sent gift cards to local restaurants that carpooled. So I delegated things. They said, what do you need? I need someone to pick up a Halloween costume for Ben because he wants to be a ninja, so
Yeah, I
they
don't
found
remember
it.
being a
That
ninja
was
for
that
Halloween,
was
but-
that was it. Building a support network and a community for your child, both with special needs and without special needs, is really important. What are their strengths? What are their interests? What are their talents? From very young, Zachary, I identified was very musical. He was very rhythmic. Even as a toddler, he would be banging out rhythms and really
Even as a
enjoy music.
youngster, I was old.
Yeah.
My drumming first started really at like bongos and stuff like that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
and as I grew up, it
We
became
went to
more
the
of
music together classes.
Yeah.
And
that's
did
what
that.
started my whole musical journey in a nutshell, basically.
So finding those strengths and doing them, identifying those talents, finding groups for children with disabilities, and inclusive groups, which are really important so that they have neurotypical peers who can model behaviors for them and interact with them, and which is great, which is what he was saying. My other son does Best Buddies as well. He's a buddy to someone else who has special needs, and it's a great learning experience on both sides. There's a lot of hits and misses. For every group that Zachary said that was so supportive and wonderful, we had probably tried 2 or 3 others. You have to find the right niche for your child. One more thing, letting go and saying no is something that I have really hard for me to do.
I'm guilty of this too.
I'm kind of a doer, so and I'm a little bit of a control freak, so giving up control to anyone, but learning to delegate is really key to surviving and keeping your sense of humor.
And really, nobody knows about this sort of thing. I want to mention something. Nobody knows about things like stuck thoughts and that kind of stuff better than me, and Carolyn too, but mostly me.
Sad. Thank you. Back to mom. Okay. Keeping your sense of humor, simplifying, keeping a sense of adventure. Like I said, going on vacation. Okay. Where are we going? Niagara Falls. All right, let's go.
She did take a trip.
Not sweating the small stuff and really just looking at the bigger picture. It's easier than done, a lot of the times, but you reminding yourself. So there's my carpe diem, having fun, being open to the new possibilities that unforeseen circumstances can present you with. I mean, who would have thought when Zach wasn't speaking at 3 years old that he would want to be a motivational speaker at 20? So you never know what's going to happen and where things lead you. So we always try to find a silver lining. We really, really do. silver lining during the pandemic for me was I actually started going on nature hikes with my husband and discovered the South Mountain Reservation, which we had lived next to for, umpteen years before we ever decided to go for walks there, and then realized I had gone there as a child with my father, and walked around there. So, being a flexible thinker is also
Something Carolyn and I do all the time.
we
Yeah.
talk about being a flexible thinker for him so that he can make transitions from one thing to another, and being a flexible thinker as an adult is great. I've gotten so flexible, I could be
Which I'm still guilty
not
of.
as flexible as Simone Biles. I would still give her that. She's fabulous.
Very, indeed. She's been
And some other lessons are to, be an advocate. I collaborate with my child study team. Child study team, for those who don't know, are the team that puts together, who leads you through an individualized education program. And, I've brought in teachers and doctors or his private speech therapist into meetings, and I always have collaborated. I've always gotten more with honey than vinegar, and, I find that really working as a member of the team and advocating for your child, your child best, is really the best way to work. And I have wonderful relationships with the administrators and teachers in our district. Ask the dumb questions. That's something else that I think is one of the smarter things that you can do. Before Zach had some surgeries, I asked some questions that I thought were really dumb, and I think the doctors thought were really dumb, that turned out not to be so dumb. And that he wound up having rare complications that they said that won't happen. But I had, thought about those kinds of questions. And then trusting your own instincts. That's something that I do a lot of. And doing your own research, and then, asking questions based on that. Also, I said there's complications that happen. You can only do the best that you can do with the information you have at any given point in time, right? So if you do your research, you get your information, and then you have to make a decision. It's
that
imperfect.
can be your resource.
It's an imperfect science, but you need to make a decision. You can't beat yourself up for, I wish I had done, if I had known. It is what it is,
It's
that.
life.
And you just have to move forward from there and not beat yourself up, because that is pretty self-defeating.
And might I add, I still feel guilty of this, but I sometimes still beat myself up at certain points because of
social mistakes that you made, but that's why you work through that with your youth.
I'm still guilty of this,
Right.
so.
But they weren't terrible mistakes, just social faux pas, that.
We all make them.
But ditch the guilt. So that's one of my things, is ditch the guilt. Ditch the guilt for not being perfect. Who's
Nobody
perfect?
is, in fact.
Ditch it for getting it wrong, for taking time to recharge and reboot. How many times do parents or moms, think like, oh, I don't have time for myself. I shouldn't have time for myself because my kids need. Well, I've learned that if you don't take some downtime and reset yourself,
You have to sacrifice their lives before your own.
yeah, which you can't do, because ultimately it comes back to, you have to be able to fill yourself up so you have something to give. And taking, don't feel guilty for taking the time away with your other children who do not have disabilities, because they need you just as much. Or taking time with your spouse or partner, or friends. We really need those relationships, and those relationships need to keep thriving. So it's not, self-care is not selfish, finding time to relax. I had, my non-guilty pleasures of like watching TV and I binged on Schitt's Creek for the first time. I don't know if anybody's seen it. I love that show. Watched the entire thing during the pandemic. It was my escape, route to go in and just watch.
A show I got into during the pandemic is a Netflix series called Atypical. And
Yeah.
I'm still kind of.
And you like that one?
I'm still still watching it. I just haven't. I kind of left off at certain seasons. So.
And then I talked about breathing as a form of self-care earlier. When Matt and I, his dad, were going through this. I mean, a lot of times we felt like deer caught in headlights, and it was, and we were paralyzed really by how overwhelming it is. I don't know if anyone saw there was a limited engagement of a a musical called If Then. Idina Menzel starred in it, and I went to go see it way before Zach started having these catastrophic fractures, and I played that music on a loop. It was if I knew then what I knew now, would I do it all over again? And I was still able to answer that question, yes, I would, because I don't know what my life would be so extraordinarily different, and not necessarily better, you know. So that's against not beating yourself up, and allowing yourself to walk through those emotions and get them out, and then get back to, okay, now what do we have to do? So I talked about, you know, my guilt-free pleasures and stress relievers, or my own positive distractions. Date nights, yoga, hiking. I love Sudoku. I do it every day.
We had a babysitter that teaches
Crosswords.
yoga, actually.
Yes. I do bobble, you know, I mentioned Schitt's Creek. So finding things like that you enjoy, whatever it is. And I mentioned there's no shame in seeking help for yourself or for your children. As a matter of fact, I mean, the common symptoms could be, you know, irritability, being short-tempered with your kids or your spouses. I find myself snapping, you know, like not meaning to. Having trouble sleeping, either falling asleep or staying asleep, is a sign of anxiety and depression. Inability to focus, having heart palpitations, like feeling jittery or on edge all the time. Having crying jags, that's always a clear one. If you start crying for no reason, watching a commercial on TV or something might be a sign you're a little overwhelmed.
I sometimes do that. I'm guilty of this too. I would sometimes cry at a certain scene, show that I watch.
Feeling very fatigued, you know, headaches, stomach aches, especially in children, like those kind of vague symptoms. So noticing them in our other children too. Both of my other sons, I had sent to therapy at different times, because for his brother Max, when he got a little older and didn't understand that his brother was differently abled, he expected him to be like all the other big brothers, you know, and he would ask him questions. I said, I don't know. Well, how do you not know? You're my big brother, you know, and he was getting angry, and so we kind of had to explain. No, it's like Max. And then so he went to therapy for a while. So he could kind of talk about his feelings, understand, and now he's, you know, evolved into one of his best buddies, you know, hangs out with him, his friends hang out with him, and it's really shaped who he has become and the things that he's been involved with, unified sports, best buddies, you know, he does all those kinds of things.
Who's that?
And Ben, my youngest, you know, also had anxiety, major anxiety, when both of his brothers were in the hospital at the same time, because Max needed minor surgery and Zach needed a major surgery, and just kind of was like, am I next? So going through learning to deal with those fears is super important for them, and for me. You know, I've gone to therapy as well, and so resilience. I think that video of Zach, you know, you can see the ups and the downs in the hospital, out of the hospital. It's like you got knocked down, got back up again. That's like a song
here, there, all over the place.
It's choosing to make lemonade when life hands you lemons. And
Almost
we have tried to do that, and I think that Zach is super resilient. And so I'm going to send it back to Zach. That's the end of my presentation, and he's just going to give some closing remarks, and then we can take some questions.
Well done, Mike. Really, that's really touching. I think we all know that my mom's very good at speaking, and she knows what she's doing, so I'm really happy to have her. Anyway, in conclusion, and this is a message to everyone watching here, at home, wherever online. In conclusion, I'd like for all people with disabilities to be treated with dignity, respect, and kindness. Remember the old saying, do unto others as you will want done to you. We are all connected to each other, and we are all different in the circle of life. If we aren't different, then that circle wouldn't be very interesting. We are still human, and we will fight through our disabilities. And this is a message, this is like a special message of mine to all of you here at home, pretty much whoever's watching it out there. I'm more than my disability, even though that's usually the first thing people notice. People should get to know me and others who are differently able. Of course, you will find that we are all more alike than we are different. We all want love, friendship, and most importantly of them all, to be included. And we have goals and dreams and aspirations, pretty much like everybody else does. We just need to be given an opportunity and chance to show those, whoever that could be, what we are able to do. And I want to create a more inclusive world. So please, I ask you to take the time to, this is a future reference, to take the time to get to know me and anybody, not just me, but anybody out there who, who have special needs, to give them that chance, give them that opportunity that we as special needs people, special needs men and women ourselves, we think we deserve to have. So thank you for coming and listening to our story.
Thank you to the Belmar Library for hosting
And
this
of
event.
course, Louis.
And of course, Louis for making it all possible. Thank you so much
Thanks,
for inviting
brother.
us. Zach and I are happy to answer any questions you might have. And if you think of anything after the program, my email is Hiott-Levine@me.com. You can send questions to that email address as well, and I'll do my best to get back to you.
Yeah, and maybe I'll look at some of the questions as well if I happen to have a chance.
Yes, and I
to.
can direct them to Zachary.
If you want to direct them to me, I can look at some of them and.
I will.
Yeah.
If we get any for you, absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
Told you, he's like, Mom, you just handle the logistics.
Yeah, I do the more easier stuff, which is coming up with the idea. She does the technical, whatever you want to call it.
Well, you're some team.
Thank you.
So, anybody has questions?
I just wanted to say, you are so verbal and so able to communicate.
Wonderful.
It's really beautiful to hear you speak.
Excuse me, which one is this?
You,
Oh,
you, Zach.
Oh,
Zach.
oh, I think he was asking. We're not doing
My
meetings
vision's
because
very-
we're online, so
My
we're not doing
vision's very
meetings.
bad.
I
so
just
can't.
wanted to say, I'm very impressed.
Wave your hand so he can see you.
Yeah, he
Can you
didn't
see?
see you.
Oh, it's this way.
Claire,
All right,
yeah,
good.
we
Carol,
introduced
sorry.
forward, yeah.
Um,
What I wanted to say was, I'm so impressed with your ability to present in a way that was magnificent.
Yeah,
And your use of language and your use of the words is just wonderful. And I'm a former 5th grade teacher. Here's another retired teacher.
Really?
Here's another retired teacher. So we understand, when I taught the 5th grade, you mentioned 5th grade, when you would have a child come to your class who was different. And you did everything in your power to have an inclusive atmosphere for that child. Another thing I wanted to say was when I first taught many moons ago, they had separate classes for the
Really?
special needs. But when the
Really?
inclusion came, they
What
changed
was
the whole
that?
philosophy
No.
of education.
might I ask, why was it separate?
I don't know, that was just an illusion, or Beatleston Act years ago,
Right.
there was a
So it
senator,
was like,
and they wanted to take care of the needs of the students in the best way that they saw at the time.
yeah,
But when they realized that we all need each other,
yeah,
that they brought the children with special needs in, and they brought the special needs teacher in with them.
Yeah.
yeah, it's funny you say
It was
that.
wonderful because we had all of our special needs children in the classroom. They collaborated with the other students. The other students helped them and built a sensitivity,
Yes.
which they would not have ordinarily had. So
Yeah.
it worked for everyone. I believe it's the same philosophy now.
Mhm.
It was the best that we could offer all of our students.
Yeah,
Really, in Milburn, thank you for bringing that up, because that was all in the least restrictive environment for the student now. is
Yes,
under the
that's right.
IDEA.
That's the term.
Right.
Yes.
But they, in our township, one of the reasons that we had moved there, was that they had an inclusive preschool. And so any child in the district that had special needs was automatically eligible to attend the preschool, and the neurotypical children got in by lottery. And it was the best program because you had a class of half and half. Half of the kids were differently abled, and half of the kids were neurotypical. And from a very young age, at age 3, you're putting these kids together, and they're not seeing that much differences now, and they're learning
No.
sensitivity.
Yeah,
They're
because
learning
they're kids, they're young,
So
they
it's
don't
fabulous.
really, they're
Yeah.
very young, so
Yes.
they don't really get
1 second, we have another
that
question.
point of view.
We have another question.
Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to continue on what you were saying about inclusion. And I understand everything that you had. I wanted to know, because you had such a rare, able to do things, but very rare,
Mhm.
how did you go about getting the right placement for him?
Wait,
So,
wait,
actually-
you want me to explain?
Well, let me talk about the placement. So we started out when Zachary was born, immediately getting him services with like the birth to 3 program or earlier
Right.
intervention. I forget which
Like
is which now.
Early intervention.
Exactly.
That's
So we
so
started
important.
early intervention from the very
That's
beginning.
so
Which,
Early
for some
intervention.
parents, they don't know until their child is older that they may need an individualized education plan, or what's called a 504 plan, which is
Right.
accommodations for medical conditions. Zachary clearly needed the IEP because he had so many things going on that they
And
classified
also,
him.
we're still kind of,
They classified him as multiply disabled. And so he went to the preschool that I had mentioned. And then
which is where I met my
Right.
professional and dear
Yes.
friend, Miss Rosie.
Miss Rosie, who was in there, was with Zachary when he was 3 at the preschool. And over the years, they've crisscrossed, and now they've been back together at the high school, which is
a weird
fabulous.
story,
Like,
but-
this is her 4th child, is what she tells me all the time.
I'm like a 4th son
Yes.
to her. I mean, she has 3 kids,
Yes.
but I'm like a 4th.
Let me-
lost,
Let me just
long
finish
lost kid.
answering the placement question.
Yeah.
So, we worked with him. When he was going to kindergarten, they decided that what was best for him was to be in a multiply disabled class at a different school, not our home elementary school, but a different school. And so I wasn't too happy about that, but
Neither
at
was
the
I.
time, and they explained to me, and I asked questions, and at the time, what they did was, because the kids that really needed a lot of hands-on support and help, they would the multiply disabled kids would be in one class, so there were only a few, so they had to put them in one school.
And
They
some of
had-
those few
kids-
kids
I'm
became
sorry.
my best friends I have.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Some of them have become your best friends. Some of the kids who were on the autism spectrum, they had another program, and that happened to be the HOPE program that was housed in my school, which would not have been a program that was beneficial for Zachary.
For years.
So he was placed in the other classroom. It worked fine.
It worked fine.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
worked. I mean, it was a
I've
little
had
bit.
some
It was
friends.
yeah, it was a little bit
Yeah.
more difficult because we didn't live the
In the
friends weren't
area,
within walking
yeah.
distance of the. But I mean, it's Milburn Township, so it was Short Hills, and we
There's
were
this
in
one
Milburn.
friend I have named Devin who.
Yeah, well,
actually-
Devon's close by. He's
Yeah,
from,
he
he's
often-
from preschool.
And he's been like a brother to me
Yes.
since we were kids.
He has.
So
But let me just, so over the years, we moved, but he would go from the multiply disabled class, they were still integrated. So they would pre-teach in that class, and then they would go into the math class with the other students, or they would pre-teach things, and so he was back and forth. So that part, and he was included in all the activities, whatever was going on socially at school, he was included in. As he got older, he went to the middle school, he was in some replacement classes, which were just smaller classes, but they were, not segregated, more inclusive setting. So always the least
I
restrictive
wouldn't
setting.
say
they tried to put
segregated,
in.
it's more,
No.
more separate.
No, so I didn't mean it in that sense.
Yeah, I know.
So then when we were going to high school was when he was losing his vision. And so I started thinking, is
That was a
the
real
high
hard
school,
one.
it was terrible, is the high school the right place for him? Because he had always been visually impaired.
But we
and
just
they would
never
paint-
knew that it was
they
a
would-
disorder.
They would paint the lines and they would do, the commission would come in and work with him. But at this
They
point,
used to actually.
he had,
One of the ladies from the commission, Miss Karen, used to
Yeah.
work with me.
we used to come in, but he lost his vision completely in his left eye after 3 surgeries, and I think we contemplated a 4th. It wasn't coming back, and he was hospitalized for other fractures at the same time, and so thank God the vision in his right eye has been stable for several years, and that's been, we just had another appointment and his retina surgeon
Yeah,
is
like
like,
3 days
it
ago.
looks exactly the same as it did, you know,
Which
6
I'm
years
actually
ago.
kinda happy with.
Fantastic.
Which I'm actually
So-
kinda happy with, cause I
Yeah.
thought like, did I lose any more vision?
No.
I'm like, when he said,
So-
oh, you didn't, it's all the same, like, yes, thank
Yes.
God.
Let me just finish this up. So we were gonna go to, I put him in the school for the blind for a while.
Yeah.
That's why he wasn't in the high school band freshman year.
Okay.
Within a
Yeah.
couple of months of being there,
Terrible.
I felt like
Disaster.
we had made a mistake putting him there. I
Disaster.
thought he would connect
Oh, okay.
with the kids there and identify more,
But-
and he didn't because he was in the highest functioning class
Of
there.
all
But
classes there.
those students didn't also have the other impairments and issues that he has, so he's still
Which
finding
totally
himself.
was off the
He
bat.
was still finding himself kind of being, you know,
Awkward
the
in
one
group,
out.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So they also, I thought what he really needed was a lot of technology, and Milburn has an awesome, you know, technology
So they
program.
work
Which
with
is how
you.
I'm still able
So
to
they
write all
were.
these
So we
songs
brought him.
right
By November, my husband said, "Well, he's just got to stick it out for the year." I said, "No, he doesn't.
Mhm.
No, he doesn't," because I brought in his psychologist. He went and did an observation, and you know, based on his recommendation, he's like, "Unless it's you absolutely need to have
Out of
him
the school
here."
district,
Yes,
you had
I had
another.
him. I am outside the school
Yeah.
district, and then
So
I brought.
did,
Yeah.
I
And then
have
I
a
went
challenged son,
Oh, okay.
only he's a lot older,
Gotcha.
so everything that you just said wasn't in place,
Fortunately, it's better.
but it's
now.
much better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
now it is.
as a parent, I really connect with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's you
Yeah,
know,
you have
do
to
the best
do your
you can.
homework, you have to
Yeah.
do your homework.
You do the best you can, you do your homework. You know, I went and I visited a bunch of schools and I
Yeah.
thought, gee, this will be a great placement for him.
Including some of the elementary
Let's
schools
reset,
I went to.
you know, we brought him back in and we just, you know, put in place what he needed. The Commission for the Blind came in and he started doing Braille lessons
Which
in
was
district
really
and then,
the most complicated
It was
lesson
so
I think I've ever learned
Yeah,
out of
'cause he
everything.
was-
yeah,
else.
because we were worried that he would lose his
Mhm.
vision completely, but, you know, he was learning how to use technology as well with the speech to text and working
I mean,
on
it was
typing
like I
skills.
only wrote
So-
one song out of Braille, and that was a song about Girl Meets World, one of my another favorite TV show of mine, and
Very
that was like
difficult
the
to read.
only thing from Braille, only song from Braille I ever wrote.
Yeah.
And it was like when I decided I wanted to write more songs with that, almost the same way. But the teacher, that was the lady who was sort of in charge of doing the Braille stuff with the kids there, she didn't see the same resilience and in my songwriting, and that kind of threw me off.
Didn't really appreciate it.
Didn't appreciate
But thank you for that
Well,
question,
yeah,
because
that's,
it's not easy. And now
it's
we're
not
going
easy.
through that again with transition to adulthood.
Yes.
Because he's going to age out of the school at 21,
Yeah.
possibly with the bridge program because of COVID, maybe he'd stay, but we're exploring programs for
You
him
can stay till 20,
For,
till
Two.
22, right?
22.
yeah. If,
So it just
if that's
depends
gonna
on
happen, that is.
whether he's kind of ready to move on, because we wound up spending 4 years at the middle school because he had been hospitalized so frequently.
So
I said, well,
long,
this is
yeah.
kind of crazy. Why are we pushing him up to the high school when he hasn't been here for much of middle school? So, you know, he's kind of ready to be done, but I'm,
But
as his
I
legal
kinda take-
guardian, not sure that that's the best, you know, decision. So we're to be determined. We're still exploring.
Which is,
Someone-
and
someone-
speaking of flexible
One second,
thinking,
one second. You're gonna be a flexible thinker on that.
Someone
I was just
once
about to
told
say
me,
that.
because it's a hard decision that you're making,
Yeah.
you know, which way to go up and down, but she was a teacher of David's when he was very young. I had David in infant STEM when he was a year old, and so, but she was brilliant. I don't know where she came from, but she said to me, don't go to the high road all the time. Don't go for the low road. Get somewhere in the middle, and then you work yourself up.
Right, that's great.
So
advice.
that's one of the things I keep in my head still today.
That's great. That's great advice.
It's good advice.
For anybody.
Yeah.
And
For
finding
anybody.
and finding your team, like we have Team Zach. That's
Find
what
the
we
right
call it. It's
niche.
Team Zach.
I,
all of
I
our
started Team
people.
Zach.
Well,
You know,
can I just
3 years
make
ago.
something for Zach? Zach,
Zach.
I just,
I'm sorry, I
I'm
was
over
sitting
here.
I was sitting down, my bad.
Yeah, I just want to say, I think you're brilliant, and you've come a long way. And I'm not a teacher, I'm a mom. So I admire you very much, not only because you've done what you've done, but you want to help other people, which I think is a wonderful
as
thing.
I mentioned a second ago, my story is a very powerful and, might I add, complicated one, but it's a story in which that I've never, ever, for my 20 years of being alive, would think that this would be a story. Never, my whole life, everything I've done in the past, every single friend I ever had growing up, every single crush I ever had growing up, I never, I never in my whole life would have thought this is my story. Like this is
That this would be where you would be going.
No, I mean
But
it's
here
like
you are.
yeah. I
And
mean
here I am.
I originally wanted to be a surgeon. So I was like, you know what?
Not now.
Screw that.
No.
But
Motivational speaker is much more.
I think this is a much more simpler and more, might I add, appropriate path to go because it's not really
Tremendous.
it's not really the job I would have had in mind in the first place, but at least it's something
Helpful.
I could think about it a second. I can have a part-time job, do this, and still make money, and look at all the money I can have.
Although we're not getting paid, full
For anything.
disclosure there, we haven't gotten paid a dime tonight.
It'll come.
But,
Which
yes.
somebody forgot to pay me.
Yes. But, thank you.
You're an
Thank you very much.
inspiration, Zach.
Yeah.
Keep it up, really,
Thank
to
you so
anybody.
That's
You're
wonderful.
truly a wonderful young man.
It was
And
This
best
is-
of luck to you.
This journey has been, I mean, this is just the beginning. Let me just say
The
something
beginning
to
of
all
your
you.
journey.
This is just the beginning of it. And this is, I'm saying on my own behalf to my mom and you and everybody watching at home that this is just the beginning of what we know today as our story.
Yeah.
So,
Who knows where we go?
exactly, who the eye perfect knows where we go from there. I mean, from here, it's like, it's a story, it's powerful enough for the whole world to hear, mind you, but
But you wanted to inspire
the
people.
age-old question that still remains in my mind today is, where else are we gonna go from here?
That's right. That's right.
Have you ever thought of maybe getting into the public sector, like maybe talking
Excuse
some
me?
students?
Excuse me?
Oh, it's talking to students over here.
I'm over here, honey.
Oh, yeah, you again, sorry.
Yes.
My apologies, because I'm really standing 3 feet away. So.
That's all right, no worries. I just wondered, it would be very appropriate for students of different ages, you know, that the bullying story is heartbreaking, because we see that
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah,
So, you know, maybe if more young people can hear your story
Yeah.
within, you know, like
which
maybe
part of it, the whole thing?
maybe
or
an
just-
evening
Parts of it.
PTO,
Yeah.
where they bring the parents and the students in to listen, and maybe some students who are hard-hearted would get a better understanding, because I really think that's needed.
Yeah,
Thank
can I
you.
say,
Thank
I
you.
have 2 things to say about that. Now
Okay.
firstly, thanks for bringing that up, because that brings 2 points I wanted to make
Good.
earlier. And first of all, I think we hear way too many stories about young men and women being bullied, mostly because the majority of those people may have had somebody close to them, a family member, a best friend, whoever, that may have been bullied themselves because, I don't know, they're awkward to other
That's right.
kids, or they have
Yeah.
autism, or this, or this, or this, and then they just take it out on other people, and they don't understand
This is what
that they might be going through these same things as them. So
That's
it's
right.
like,
That you're more alike than different. Yep.
that's why I said more alike than different, because in my mind, the girl that made fun of me at that time, I'm not going to say her name because I'm
No.
trying to be anonymous
No.
here, but like she, I guess, had a hard time understanding what my life is like. And I think, now that I look back on it 20 years later, I seem to have a better understanding of it, that maybe the reason that she did what she did is because she didn't understand my point of view,
Mhm.
or B, she thinks that you know, it's like if I'm not like this guy, I'm no good. So, and I think and in my opinion, that's not really true. That's not really true in my opinion. And then another point I wanted to make is the very first song I composed in music tech was about somebody who was bullied. Actually, 2 songs about bullying, but they're different stories. But like one that I relate to more is entitled Amanda, and this is about somebody who also lost her vision at a very young age, and her brother, was like a role model, was like a superhero figure to this girl, and
That's when you wrote that
so
song.
she decides to write a little song about herself.
There you go.
So
One of the things that I'm glad you brought that up, actually as part of Zach's job training at the high school, I mentioned the Caring Kids program and the Kids on the Block puppet show earlier. And so our Caring Kids group does, we created character education from kindergarten through grade 5. In the spring, they also do programs on visual differences, and they do programs on physical differences, as well as a program on learning disabilities, learning differences, and those are that, and then you have the puppet show.
Physical, they do
And
physical.
physical differences. And Zachary is actually going to train to go and be the speaker in the schools for the physical differences.
Yeah.
and
that's not till like the
vision differences.
spring, right?
So,
The spring
yeah,
part.
they were
That's exactly
looking for
where
some
you
new
need to be.
speakers.
Yeah. That's
And it's
exactly
funny you
who
said-
needs to hear you.
That-
When you
that's
said
who
about
needs to
talking
hear
to
you,
kids
the
about
younger
this stuff,
people.
I kind of think that could be another
So I think
part of my career too.
it's a great
That-
opportunity for him. And we have done 2 prior speaking engagements for companies who have diversity and inclusion committees and wanted to hear from us. And so those programs, and now because of this,
Yeah.
Louis, I got an invitation already talking to someone about speaking at another library.
All right,
Yeah.
there we go, I love it.
We got
Right,
the
Louis.
invitation. He
Is that-
said, well, it'll be great.
When Zach speaks of it, about his story,
Mhm.
is that along with the exercises with the kids on the block?
Well,
Is
it's
that's
good.
another
I mean,
another place for him.
Right. Well, he is. He'll be speaking. The way we do the Kids on the Block show for third
That's one of
graders.
my
Third graders.
inspirations for being
And
a
then
speaker,
there's the
actually.
vision impairment unit they do in the spring for the third graders. And then in 4th grade, we do physical differences, and then we do learning differences.
What Mr.
with the
Askins
kids on the
is having
block?
you do,
Not with the puppets.
Oh, I-
Just going and
we
Mr.
develop
redeveloping a
Askins
separate
is
script and
separating the two.
Yeah. No,
so
they're
that-
they're always separate.
No, I
And
know
then in
that
5th grade, they
part,
do an anti-bullying.
but I'm just telling you
Yeah.
Being
that.
upstanding
Do they
and all
still
that
ask
stuff.
questions at the end?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep, and we have to answer as puppets.
Yes, it's
So,
puppets.
yes.
I was a
Which I remember asking
puppet.
mom's former puppet,
great.
Brenda.
I did 2
actually.
puppets.
Which puppets did you do?
I did the physical one. What was his name? Get that
Oh,
moment?
Mark.
Mark.
Yeah.
Mark, and I did the young lady with Down syndrome, and I can't remember so
Ah.
long ago.
We didn't have that one. We
I don't
have,
think they
I
had
was,
that
I was Mandy.
Oh,
Who is-
Mandy,
is
we did
the-
Mandy, we did
the
Ronaldo, we did the learning. We had a
Yeah.
whole
Yep.
group
we do
of
5,
moms.
We do 5 mini
Yeah,
skips. Yep. It's a great
that was
program.
fun.
It is fun.
This is also
And the
my-
questions from the kids
The
are
questions were
amazing.
amazing.
They're amazing questions.
Yeah.
They
which
don't.
I
Thank you
remember-
so
see
much.
the
Remember-
puppet. They don't see you. We're
Yeah.
right behind the
Yeah.
puppet,
And the,
Right.
but
the
they
deaf
don't see you. They
Yeah.
go right up to the
Mandy-
puppet and
yeah.
talk.
Mandy takes 2 people to do because Mandy signs. So we have one puppeteer who's down there who does the arms.
Carefully,
And then I'm up here behind her doing the
And
mouth and the
mouth.
voice, and she's signing. So it's and now with
Mom
masks with
showed me
COVID,
Mom
You do?
actually
Fun.
showed me
I showed
how
you.
that can be done
Yeah.
actually.
with the masks with COVID, and we're getting older in our reading glasses, trying to see
Yeah.
the scripts popping
Yeah,
up.
it's like as we
It was
get older,
quite the
it's
challenge
like,
this year. So, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
thank
like
you
that.
so much.
Get away.
Thank you.
I enjoyed it very much.
yeah.
I want to thank you all for coming tonight. I want to thank everyone watching live on our Facebook stream tonight for tuning in. I want to thank Natalie and Zach for coming to share their story today with us.
Thank you, Louis.
Yeah, thank you. And also to let you know that on December 1st, we're going to have the last of three. On December 1st, we're going to have the last of the three presentations we have from attorney Tina James, who's going to be addressing one of the topics they talked about tonight, which is successful transition to adulthood. So, where she goes over all the different things about planning and all the different, like New Jersey Able accounts and other activities you can do to deal with that. So, yeah, absolutely. So, once again, thank you all for coming. Enjoy your night and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving to all of you, actually. Can't believe Thanksgiving's next week already.
Really appreciate your attention.